instead of trying to recap today, I'm going to recap the last 100 years of content marketing in the next 15 minutes. So what I want to do is take you on a quick journey through the history of content marketing, because one of the things about being the last guy, other than the fact that your points will have been made previously, is thank God I agree with everybody. There is one thing I am going to take exception to, though, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But what I want to talk about today is innovation and content marketing innovation, because for most of us, we're doing content marketing already. As has been said so many times today, we're doing it, we just don't realize we're doing it. And it is from the cave paintings on back we've been doing content marketing. We just haven't realized we've been doing it yet. What we've been doing is we've been innovating the process by which we do it, by which we tell our stories. And so that's what I want to talk a little bit about today, is innovation and how that sort of applies to what we're doing in a marketing process. So, by the way, if you're live tweeting, and that's a little bit about me and my billboard and blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about that. Content marketing is not new. And where I want to take a little bit of an exception is I don't think it's hard. I don't want us to believe, and I don't want us to walk out of here today thinking content marketing is hard. Content marketing is not hard. We all tell stories. We are getting really, really good at it. If you go look at your Facebook right now, your uncle is telling a fantastic story about what he's eating for dinner right now. There are amazingly compelling photographs of pasta waiting for you on Facebook. We are getting really good at telling stories. We just need to be able to be much better at telling them for the brands that we represent. It's inspiring storytelling. That's really what it's all about. It is not hard. It is about innovating, in my mind, 3 practices: your process, your stories, and the channels by which you tell those stories. So let's take a look quick through history and just talk a little bit about each of those things. So there's a guy by the name of John Deere. So way back, 1890s or so, he innovated a process for selling basically plows. And he would go out and he would demonstrate what at the time was considered pretty revolutionary stuff. The idea that you could plow a field and crap wouldn't stick to your blade as you would go create the furrows that you were plowing your fields with. So he would go out and demonstrate this to the local people. In fact, they did it so often they commemorized it with a lovely painting. And so he did that, and that was really content marketing. But at the end of the day, they also created a magazine, still published today, called The Furrow. The one on the left there is from the 1930s, and the one on the right is the current issue, 100 and X years later. That is January 2012. Million subscribers, 40 countries, all sorts of different languages, and basically it's talking about how to be a better farmer. And that is content marketing at its finest. Cut to 20 years later. Let's talk about Edward Ellsworth Company. So this always cracks me up when I talk about it. Back in the early 1900s, the idea of eating cereal for breakfast was kind of like eating a slab of bacon is today, and just a stack of pancakes. People were just, and of course we were doing a lot more physical things back in the early 1900s, so eating cereal was like, are you kidding me? So a cereal company decided this was what we wanted to do. We want to convince America that eating cereal, and especially hot cereal, is a good idea, because after all, we're a cereal company. And so what they did was they employed this jingle writer. She wrote songs, she told stories, she wrote poetry, and her name is Minnie Maud Hanf. And so she goes out and she starts writing all these wonderful jingles about this guy named Jimmy Dumps. And Jimmy Dumps is this short, little, fat guy who all he does is eat meat and eggs for breakfast every day. What he does is he starts to eat forced cereal. And Jimmy Dumps turns into Sonny Jim. And Sonny Jim is basically wonderful, although I don't know what that thing sticking out of the back of his head quite is. So I'm not going to go there necessarily, although the imaginations are running wild, I'm sure. But basically for vigor and vim, you eat forced cereal, which basically created this entire legend. They innovated a story around by which they told something that really related to the larger picture of what they were trying to do, which was eating hot cereal for you can be much better for you than eating the nasty stuff that you're eating already. Was it successful? Well, by the 1930s, they were selling 360,000 boxes of cereal per day, which was just incredibly huge for the time. And Sonny Jim was as well known at that point as the president. Now, it was President Taft, so, make what you will of that. But in any event, he was an extraordinarily well-known celebrity at the time. So content marketing there, innovating the story that you want to tell and how you want to tell it. I'm going to cut to now, where a lot of innovation happens. And a lot of innovation happened in this room in the 1980s, that's for sure. A lot of other things happened in this room in the 1980s. There's a legend that basically says the CEO of Hasbro and the CEO of Marvel Comics met in this room. And they basically decided right there on the spot that this is where they were going to innovate the entire channel strategy for how they were going to market G.I. Joe in 1980. Because basically at that time it was frowned upon, and it was actually illegal to use cartoons to market toys to kids. And so what they decided to do was they were going to create a comic book to sell G.I. Joe. And so they created this comic book and the stories around G.I. Joe, and they recreated the entire G.I. Joe brand around this unit of army guys who would go out and fight terrorists. And they created an entire comic book series. And then what they did, because it was not really cool to actually advertise the toy, but it was cool to actually create a TV series around marketing the comic book. So they could completely innovate the channels by which they were marketing and what they were actually selling to actually drive awareness, drive the story, and drive the channel strategy for something that was really ultimately doing one thing, and that's selling more G.I. Joe dolls. This, by the way, is the intro to the song. By the way, go YouTube this. This is just, it's classic 1980s cartoon, and it's just wonderful. So the G.I. Joe became a toy. It became a comic book, which you bought, of course. It became a television show, which was supported by advertising. And it ultimately became a movie, and if you don't remember, because it was in theaters for about 20 minutes, a movie just about a year or two ago as well. So, completely revolutionizing and innovating content marketing channels. By the way, one other thing I'll say about this, I had this as a kid. I had this toy unwrapped. Like an idiot, I unwrapped it. And I just went on eBay to check, $200 for that thing. That's the, by the way, the Cobra Stellar Stiletto. Anybody G.I. Joe fans? No? Okay. My geekness is showing. All right, so let's now talk about what is next. This is a picture I took just today of you guys. So who in here is going to innovate content marketing in 2012? Who's going to do it? Who's going to be the innovation? Who's going to drive the next innovating for their brand within this room? I mean, it's crazy how much energy and wonderful information we've heard today and what we can actually accomplish. When Joe and I wrote the book, Managing Content Marketing, we wanted to come up with a definition for content marketing, and this is really it. We like to think of it as basically content marketing is owning and not renting the media. This is about aggregating your audience. We all have the power to aggregate an audience. As you've heard in all of the talks today, we have the power now to aggregate the audience. We do not have to go rent the media anymore. We can own it. We can aggregate our own audience, and that we can use to attract and retain customers to do what we want them to do, basically to enhance or change a behavior. And that really affects every part of the funnel, from awareness all the way through to evangelists, all the way through to our advocates, what Rod called basically defending the brand. That content marketing can be used for any and all of that process. So let's look at a question. How many people here, by the way, doesn't this look like we're having the next Republican debate here? With all the, what do you think, Mr. Paul? I'm going to steal one of these. I want to know, just as a quick question to the audience, who's been innovative in the past 6 months? One of the interesting, I ask that question every time I talk, and inevitably, no one ever cites a failure. And innovation, by definition, is something new. And so one of the things that I want you to walk away with from here today is that you're going to have all these great new ideas of how to apply content marketing processes into your existing marketing organization. And I want to encourage you to be innovative, and I want you to go get permission to fail at least once or twice. Because you will. One of the blogs that you launch won't get 16% click-through on your program. One of the Facebook programs you launch will not get 27,000 likes. One of the programs you launch will not work. But being innovative and innovating these processes, these new muscles for the organization, is extraordinarily important. And you need to have permission to apply and experiment, fail quickly, fail iteratively, and learn from it, but be able to fail, because innovation and learning to do this will absolutely improve your organization over time. So one of the most common questions I get asked every time I speak, and when I was on tour with the book and at Content Marketing World, and it just inevitably comes up as one of the most popular questions, is how do I prove the ROI, right? How do I give my CEO the ROI equation for content marketing? And it's the wrong question. Because one, the snarky answer is, well, what's the ROI on innovation, right? You know, the real answer is this is a process that we're going to go into and lay on top of these. If we start thinking about content marketing as separate and discrete from the other things that we're doing in marketing, we've immediately failed. Rod and I were talking at dinner last night, and it's basically, it's not that he's not doing advertising. It's not that he's not doing email marketing. It's not that he's not doing SEO or pay-per-click or any of the other tactics that might be appropriate for his business. He has laid a process on top of those things to enhance them, make them better. That's the innovative piece of this, innovating the process, innovating the story, innovating the channels where you tell that story. It's not looking at it as a separate channel. It doesn't replace what I'm doing in advertising, although it may ultimately decrease the amount of advertising I need to do. It is actually something that I integrate into it, and that's one of the best ways to take the first step into content marketing, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So how do we build that business case for innovation? How do we build a case for doing something new in the organization that we might not have otherwise been able or given permission to do? Well, one of the things that I like to look at first is how big is the opportunity? Where can we affect the biggest change the fastest? You're already doing stuff out there. You're advertising, you're doing pay-per-click marketing, you're doing PR. You're doing something already, and some of it's working, and some of it probably isn't. So just ask for permission to go take the poorest performing tactic. Maybe it's PR, maybe it's pay-per-click, maybe it's events, maybe it's something else, and just say, what we want to do is we want to apply a content marketing process on top of this. And if we can draw any efficiency out of it, if we can start to save money by doing it, I'm not giving that money back. I'm going to take that money and I'm going to actually apply it to something else. Rinse, repeat. Start integrating this into your process so that you start building your case step by step, phase by phase. As much as I would love to dump the entire marketing department, probably not very tenable for most of you. So what we can do is we can start dumping things that aren't working and applying innovative ideas to those that aren't working, where we might be able to affect a little bit of change very quickly and get it going immediately. So who knows what the TAM is? Marketing class? Thank you. You'd be surprised at how often that gets put on your professor hats again, go back to your college marketing classes, total addressable market. Go figure out where the lowest hanging fruit is, where you can actually have the biggest impact. Figure it out, plan, believe in it. Then, figure out who. You've heard that from every talk today, figuring out the who. But, as my grandfather used to say, who is what an owl says. Who plus why is what gives you the magic. So when Rod looks out there and says, who are my personas, he doesn't say people who need insurance, because if he stops at people who need insurance, what he gets is, oh, let's do a blog post on the top 5 reasons that auto insurance is great. Let's do a blog post on the top 5 reasons that, by the way, these exist with insurance companies. These blog posts exist. The top 5 reasons that you should have homeowners insurance to save your bacon if the storm blows down your house. Who reads those? Nobody. What he realized was who you are plus why you want to engage, why I would want to engage with you, is much more important. What does it do? It gives you 3 key things. It delivers wants versus needs. Delivering a want versus a need. Seth Godin, by the way, has an amazing blog post on this. Delivering a want versus what you need. What do people need? They need insurance. What do they want? They want trust. They don't ever want to have to use insurance. They don't ever want to even think about insurance. They want trust. They want to just feel that it's there and it's in the background. It's a family member that they trust. That's what they want. That's what PEMCO has realized that they're selling, is that trust. They're family. They're neighbors. They're you, only they're just like you. They're a little different. Wants versus needs. Then, insights versus metrics. We've got to stop sweating over getting an incremental 0.5% out of our click-through on pay-per-click or getting from number 5 to number 4 position on SEO. We just have to. I know so many organizations that are just constantly spinning their wheels, trying to grind out another 1% conversion on a particular campaign, or grind out another 0.5% click-through rate on their banner campaigns, or grind out one more magazine that they're getting placed in their PR program. We've got to stop grinding out incremental results. We've got to start being innovative and taking chances and delivering results and insights versus metrics. So giving us 27,000 to 29,000 to 30,000, all those different likes or followers on our Twitter or page views on our website or whatever it is that we're tracking metrics-wise, that's just data. And data doesn't convert customers. All data does is give you the opportunity to have a great insight and improve and innovate on the process that you've created. The third thing that delivering who are you and why is the value versus results. So it's easy to deliver results. I used to tell my sales guys when I worked for a technology company, enterprise software. I had enterprise sales guys all over the country. I had like 14 enterprise sales guys. I used to call them my baby birds. Leads, I want leads. And so you can feed those all day long. I would say basically, they'd say, we want more leads. I'd say, you want me to turn on the spigot for more leads? I'll give you leads all day long. You can deliver leads all day long. In fact, marketing, in most cases, delivers way more leads than sales can deliver or can handle. But when you deliver the right kind of person, at the right time, with the right kind of content, in the right part of the funnel, now the sales guys are your best friend because you're delivering leads that they can actually close. You're delivering quality. The number of leads may go down, but the results go up. So that's the real key of knowing who and why as a combination. What that ultimately results in is sort of 4 things that I believe are just absolutely critical when putting together your content marketing plan versus plan. I can tell you now, 60% of the calls that we get, mostly with Content Marketing Institute, when we consult, we're typically consulting with larger organizations that are trying to fix a broken content strategy, not create a new one. So this is really the first year that that's been true. So over time, what's happening is people are jumping in, just like we did, mobile's a huge example of this. The CEO runs in and says, we need a mobile website tomorrow. We need a social media strategy tomorrow. So they go out and they do it. And they build this giant thing, and then guess what happens? Nothing. So plan. Put the work into the plan. Take the time to measure twice and cut once. Then, second, believe. Absolutely believe. I'll tell you a quick story. Worked with this enterprise software company. We did this great, amazing content marketing plan for them where we put together, they were going to change the way that the industry looked at them. They had figured out a much larger story to tell. They knew what they really did, and they were basically going to really change the entire way that the brand was going to be perceived. And so they were going to do that by facilitating this online blog and this community news, and they were going to curate content. They were going to create original content. They had it phased out so that they were going to engage thought leaders to sort of bring them into the fold as they developed their new product. They had it was an amazing program we put together for them. 6 weeks before the launch, the water cooler conversation started to happen. Are we sure we want competitors talked about on this blog? Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, let's not do that part. Okay, let's put that. Next day. Are we sure we want to be really honest about our product and its shortcomings and where we've come from in our past? Yeah, I didn't think so either. Let's just put that. Are we sure we don't want any banner ads that really give us really strong calls to action on the blog? Are you sure about that? I thought that might be the case. What did it turn into? It turned into a microsite basically advertising the new product. So over time, the person that was in charge of really managing the new content marketing plan for this new product initiative, they lost the belief. They lost their passion for it. The company lost its passion for it, and basically it ended up failing. And so believe is such a hard, this is one of the reasons that I think it's imperative that we believe that this is not hard. We've got to go into this thinking that we can do it and we can do it well. So believing is a huge piece. Measure. Yes, absolutely measure. Measure is an incredibly important, you've heard it from many of the speakers today about measurement and why measurement is about. But measure for the ability to improve your process, not prove a point. So if you're measuring to prove a point, here's my thick document of us moving up and to the right, you will fail because you will focus entirely on moving up and to the right. More page views, more likes, more Twitter followers, more. Deliver the measurement results that you need to deliver for the right people that you need to deliver to. The CEO does not need to know about the number of page views that you get. Your boss does not need to know about the number of likes and the sort of trends that are happening there. Because if you continually deliver so much granularity in your measurement that you're pressured to continually, why is it that we don't have more page views this month? Well, because we tried this innovative thing and it didn't work. Well, that's stupid. We've got to have the ability to experiment and fail. And the only way we'll do that is if we have the ability to measure what's important, deliver that measurement as important, and deliver the results that we're actually responsible for delivering. So the CEO cares about one thing. How much are we selling? What is the conversion rate? What is the cost? Whatever those metrics are, that's the important thing. So deliver only what you need to deliver from a measurement, and then land and expand. Basically, try, if you're trying to get something just started, and if you don't have if you're a small business and you can completely upend everything you're doing, great, go do that. It's a great, innovative, experimental way to start. But if you're in a big business, you probably don't have that flexibility. So try something small. Expand once you get sort of the buy-in, once you prove success, once you start to get real traction there, and then start to build and build and build. It can take years. And then I'm closing with this because this is sort of the taking the first step. How do we make this real? So I touched on this just a little bit ago, and it's about those first steps. So Rod had this exact chart, only his went sort of horizontally, mine goes vertically because I like the funnel sort of shape. The reason I like the sort of funnel on top of the funnel is because if you look at it as sort of a buying cycle or sort of an engagement cycle, if you will, of the way that we work with customers, customers are usually the smallest number of people we have. I mean, I love what Rod said about the customers only really exchanging value. They're not really your customers yet. Not until they start moving into the bottom part of the funnel where they're satisfied, where they're retained, where they're upsold, where they become advocates, and then ultimately where they will actually become evangelists or defend your brand. That's an incredibly important thing. And that's the idealized funnel, right? That's what we want. That's what we're really striving for. Along the right-hand side, it's all the stuff that we're doing already. We're doing this stuff already as part of our marketing plan. We're trying to build awareness. We've got an SEO program, probably. We've got a public relations going. We've got pay-per-click. We've got advertising. We've got email. We've got lead nurturing happening. Once they become customers, we've got CRM and social programs. We've got loyalty programs. We've got special offers. We've got customer events. Figure out which part of the funnel you want to approach first, and just pick one of those tactics and start to apply a content marketing process over the top of it. Quick example. Pay-per-click program for a software company, B2B, for those of you who love the B2B thing. They were basically had a pay-per-click program where the ad was, click here for a demo, it's the typical free trial thing, or talk to a sales guy. They were getting really good click-through. Hence, they had a really expensive program on their hands. Because, of course, when you click on an ad in Google, you basically get taken to a landing page, and basically you bought that visit. So they had this great program going where they were paying a lot for ad click-through, and they were getting a lot of demo requests. But then they started to notice something. Sales guys were constantly busy delivering these demos. They would spend hours and hours doing on-the-phone demos, talking to these people. And what they discovered was they started talking to them and saying, these are not buyers. These are people on their lunch hour who are bored and are just getting educated on this particular software product. Or these are just early tire kickers and they're just trying to get a sense of what this whole thing is all about. So we're delivering these demos way too early in the process. So we switched it. Simple thing. We switched the pay-per-click campaign to download this white paper on building the business case for your boss for this particular software process. Click-throughs went way down. Click-throughs went way, 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 way down. So therefore, costs went way, way, way down. But the conversion of those leads to the next conversion layer, which was basically, now let's talk about getting a demo or getting in front of you and talking about the next step in the process, skyrocketed through the roof. Because now they're talking to people who actually are interested and engaged in a process of learning about what it is that they did for a living. And by downloading this white paper, they were actually trying to get educated, and then the next step is get a demo, and they built their business case, and they work with a sales guy to build this business case, and so on and so forth. So by simply doing one simple thing, which was changing their pay-per-click campaigns to a content marketing-driven campaign, as opposed to sort of talk to a sales guy campaign, they immediately had results, which they then put into other elements of a content marketing plan. So it's incredibly, incredibly powerful if you just start taking the first steps. When I first came to Los Angeles, and I'm from Los Angeles, I can say that now because I was originally from Texas and I've been there for 25 years, and I can now say I'm officially, don't hit me because I know there's some LA haters in the room. But I came out to be a rock star. I was a musician, came out from college, and the first thing I wanted to do was get up on a rock and roll stage, and I wanted to be a rock star. That was the best thing. I could not imagine myself being anything else other than up on stage, playing to tens of thousands of people, and being a rock star. Well, it didn't really work out very well. But what I've learned is that, and this was just my favorite quote from Bono, is that basically he's got two instincts. One is changing the world, and the other is having fun. I think content marketing brings the joy back into marketing. I think content marketing brings the love and passion and storytelling back into marketing. I think it gets us out of that whole data-driven, geek-driven, math, spreadsheet, sort of boring-ass marketing. And I think it's really the future. And it is so much more fun to do marketing through content than it is trying to incrementally grind out another conversion metric. And that, at the end of the day, means you're all rock stars. And so all I'll tell you is it's your story, and I dare you to go out and make it remarkable. And I want to thank you very much for all your time.